Well, welcome to another episode of the Rogue Asset Podcast. Very exciting episode for you today. The title of our episode is Culture is Currency, the Blueprint Behind Real Brand Partnerships. And we have a great guest today. So there are people who talk about culture, and then there are people who shape it. Today's guest has sat in rooms where careers are decided, brands are born, and influence quietly becomes power. She's helped guide some of the biggest names in music, from talent to legacy. And now she's building something even bigger. An ecosystem where culture creators finally own their own value. She's a former senior vice president of Atlantic Records and the director of brand partnerships at ICM, CAA Partners. She's a CEO, current CEO of the Culture Creators, and today she's going to pull back the curtain on how brand partnerships really work. Joi Brown.
What's up?
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Man, I don't even want to get into like your resume. Your resume is like impressive, outstanding, but long.
Yeah. Don't date me.
So, I want to start with a moment, though. With a moment.
Okay.
Take us to a specific room, a specific year, when you realized culture just wasn't influence. It was leverage.
There are several moments, right? I remember specifically, if I had to say where culture was forefront, was working with Sean Paul. At a time where dance hall was kind of a new format in the mainstream area, and seeing how rabid the mainstream audiences were adapting to this new sound. And I think initially it opened up a lot of doors for Sean in spaces where I think he would not have had that opportunity. But it was people embracing dance hall, Jamaican culture, and not asking him to change, which I think is a dynamic that many people don't get to control when you talk about monetizing or publicizing or amplifying culture, right? So he is authentically a dance hall artist. He was wanted in spaces and rooms and on records because that's who he was.
Right.
So it wasn't like he was having to make a pop record.
Right.
He just made great music and was allowed to let that be the leverage in which he achieved success.
Okay. Great. So that kind of leads us to one chapter of your life. You spent years at Atlantic Records years at Atlantic Records at a very high level. From the outside, people often see glamour, right?
Yeah.
They see glamour. But from the inside, what does power actually look like inside those walls?
That's such an incredible question. I don't think I've ever been asked that before. I think, public perception is that you are this executive, you are, you're schmoozing with these incredible celebrities and your life is all glamorous. And it's really not. It is in rooms with people who look very corporate at times, or very I like to say nerdy.
Right.
Sometimes I used to be in a conference room and look around the room and say, you know what, we really aren't cool. We really are really corny. But it's people who are committed and passionate about music, and your day is never like the day before. There's always changes. And one thing about music is that what I love about it is that it's not cookie cutter.
Right.
Because no two artists are exactly the same, and depending on who you're working on, your day can start on doing hip hop and end on doing country. So it's a lot of meetings, it's a lot of follow up, follow through. ideating and then follow through again and making sure that people are doing the things that they say they're going to do. So
and more meetings.
And more meetings. And more meetings, Yeah, so it's really not sexy.
Right. Yeah, I've always thought it's kind of funny. You see some of these executives and the conversations that I used to have when I was in the industry, what I realized quickly was a lot of executives were like failed musicians or people that grew up as kids wanting to be, but didn't necessarily have the ability to go that full way.
That's rude. That's rude.
No, it's true. It's true.
I don't think all the cases.
Listen, not all. No, definitely not all the cases. But I saw that a lot, like on the rock side, for example. Probably more so than any other side.
Yeah. But you know what? I would say that stems from, when you speak about culture, right? So musicians, you're in the space, you're in the culture, you're of the music. What better person do you bring in to work at that format but someone who is gigging at a local dive bar, know what it's like
or used to in college.
Right, who has that experience.
And passionate about music.
Right.
Yeah. So what separated the artists and the executives who scaled, in your opinion, from those who stalled?
I don't really know. Okay, you asking about the artists who scaled or executives?
Artists, both. Artists and executives.
I'm trying to think. Do I know an artist who scaled as an executive? Can you name
one?
Well,
not as an executive, but obviously some artists scale.
Right.
Some executives scale. Artists stall. And executive careers do stall.
Oh, true. Good point. Okay, I would say this. I think it's being open to innovation. I tell you that I have had to innovate and change, not necessarily who I was in its core, but you have to adapt. You have to be hungry for technology. You have to be hungry for and always searching for what's next. And if you are one who, well, we used to do it this way. That was the whole thing that drive me crazy. Oh, we always done it this way. Or you're stuck in, okay, well, it's got to sound like this. It's got to be like this moment. Well, tastes change.
Boom.
And who you market to, they get older. And then you're trying to market to another younger set. So you have to get to know what their interests are and understand who you're serving.
Great answer, because I've often thought about it, and I think that is a big part of it. If you're still kind of, some of those records that actually came to be, if you're still looking at them with old ears, and you're saying, well, that doesn't even sound like, but you know what I mean? Like, if you're unaccepting of what the new generation is bringing, then I've seen that stall people out.
Yeah, absolutely. And also when it comes to artists, right? Because I won't name names, but there are artists, we say they're stuck in the 80s, right? So they're operating as if the industry is still in the 80s and the 90s, you know what I'm talking about.
Right.
And you're like, oh, they just don't get it, right? Because the industry's changed, and it's changed again.
Right.
And if you don't know how to adapt and kind of roll with the punches and figure out where you fit in this story, then you just don't make it.
Yeah. So sad, but very true. Very true. So let's talk about brand partnerships. When a brand approaches an artist, a creator, or a platform, what are they actually buying?
It depends. I would say, if it's an early brand, they're buying adoption. They're buying an introduction to your audience. They're buying, honestly, the cool factor, right? If it's a bigger brand, some of that still remains true, but a large part of it is really how do they connect more organically to their consumer base, right? So it's a way to say, hey, this soup tastes really good. Don't take my word, take Brett Favre's word, because see, he eats it all the time, so it must be really good. So it's kind of a stamp of approval, and a way to, dig deeper into our audience.
Man, I was with you, but man, you almost kind of threw me out on that Brett Favre thing.
I can't keep using Cardi B and other names that I regret. So I'm trying to.
Brett Favre is. That's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do brands consistently misunderstand about creators, in your opinion?
I think they misunderstand the nuances of what being a creator really is about. The best brand deals I've ever done, and don't ask me which ones because I can't remember anymore, have been the best.
Sounds like age.
But they are ones who say, hey, creator B, this is our platform. This is what we want to do. This is our messaging. How would you interpret it? I think it's when you allow the creator to be creative, I think you get really amazing content that not only you're going to get more than what you pay for, but you are going to get a level of creativity that your average brand executive who is probably living in the suburbs and don't listen to the music anyway would not have been able to come up with. So I think not having them at the table as a partner in the creative process is a miss.
Gotcha. Do you sometimes have you ever encountered where brands thought access meant alignment?
I think most brands think. I think most brands feel that way. I would say, especially if you're working with challenging talent, brands. People would say to me, "Why don't you just get it? Like, do they know what this deal is? What this means?" And I'm like, yeah. Yeah and no. Just because they're doing this deal does not mean that they're just going to be so gun-ho and they're going to go overboard and be this cheerleader for you all the time. Or, and I'd say this, I think working with talent is a little bit different than working with creators, right? So, creators are the new currency, right? So they're not necessarily musicians. They are people who have a defined audience based off of their interests. They move a little bit different, than a lot of musicians. I think musicians are now catching up because they were kind of locked out of the space for a while because they didn't have a niche, right? So they thought that, because I'm a singer or I'm a rapper, I'm already an influencer, but that doesn't mean that your audience is gonna buy what you sell.
Right.
Where creators who, whether it's fashion or beauty or cosmetics or skateboarding or tech, they're speaking to a particular audience who they've become the authority over. And so you're more likely to buy or go give a product a chance because this person, they've tried them all and you trust their opinion because you've seen it.
Right.
So I think when we think about creators in that aspect, I think that brands have to understand that you're coming into their world, right? And so you have to be a little bit flexible about what that looks like. And I think because creator economy is so huge, I think they get it now. They've been forced to get it.
Right. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. All right, so at some point, you were at one of the most powerful labels in the world, right? And you left that. Oh, while you were there, you started Culture Creators.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay, so Culture Creators was already there. Why did you decide to start Culture Creators? What did you see?
Yeah. So, I started Culture Creators because I just really got tired of young people coming to me and not understanding the power of where they've come from, not understanding that they have access, and not really using it the way that I felt like my generation who ushered into the music industry did. And when I thought about it, I was like, you know what? They don't know because they haven't seen it. It hasn't been modeled. And when I entered in the music industry, and I'm really about to date myself, it was like the late 90s, early 2000s. It was the heyday, but on a downturn, right? So I think we had a good 2 years or 3 years when it was like crazy, and then they cut that off. They cut the spigot off. But being there and being so enamored and in love with music and the industry, I just was like this kid in a candy store with my eyes open, watching how people moved, watch how they set up meetings, how they move, how they conducted a meeting, how they networked, right?
Complete culture.
Right, complete culture around it. And also, too, like that was a heyday when there were conferences, right? And because Black culture was the heartbeat of America, you had New York Undercover on TV. It was nothing to be sitting at the Bowery Bar and Naomi Campbell's there and XYZ, and an athlete was there. It was like a mesh of all things sports, all the thing, right? So I got, as a young person, I'm sitting here like, wow, okay. So if I'm sitting next to this amazing celebrity, I then know that I can go in any door and sit next to an amazing celebrity. But you fast forward and you don't have that anymore, right? And so the only way as a young person get into this industry to be in those rooms is you got to have access. And I don't think that our generations prior to us, and I try to really change it now, has done a great job of really mentoring and pulling people, behind the velvet rope, and say, sit with me, and giving them access to watch you, to learn, to feel it, Facts. And so what I tell people, and it's so funny because I'm learning how to tell my story. When I tell people I started Culture Creators because I just wanted all of us in one room. I knew that if I could get everybody in one room, even those who were on the periphery of the music business, like they've been displaced or wherever, and that these young people could see how powerful we are, and they'd have access. They could be sitting next to Andre Harrell or, D Nice,
right,
and have a conversation.
Right.
There was no gatekeeping. There was no VIP. We were all in one room. And that's really what it was, is I just wanted us all in one room, because I knew if we got all in one room, conversations would happen, people would feel like family, and we can figure out how to work together. Wow.
My next question was asking you about what was the vision on day one, but I think, listen, that summed it up.
Yeah.
It wasn't complex. It was pretty simple.
I tell people it was just a party.
Yeah. Get people into one room, no gatekeeping, no velvet ropes. So there was conversation access.
It was just a party.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so I want to slow this down because this is a blueprint moment, right? If someone is listening right now and you're a creator, you're an artist, entrepreneur, an executive, what are the pillars of real brand partnerships?
Well, great question again, because I think people need to understand this and hear this clearly.
I think so.
A brand partnership is a give and take relationship, right? I think people have to understand that you're asking a brand to make an investment in your idea or event or what have you. There are expectations that you are going to deliver, and which is called an ROI, a return on investment. So it's not a matter of you taking a check and just doing this opportunity and walking away. What value are you bringing for that check? And that's really at the core. It's so simple. That's really what it is. It's a give and take relationship. So if I'm going to give you, Darren, $10,000 to do an event, and you take it, what are you going to give me in return? And if we think about brand partnerships that way, I think anybody can get it, right? And to understand that it's a reciprocal relationship. It's not one-sided. It's not transactional. And I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions still to this day, that people believe that they can get paid just to be cool, or get paid just because they have this amazing event. There's always something you have to return.
It's always it's a two-way street, and it's applicable across the board in any business. I think I was just discussing it in my current industry, in real estate, the other day, in regards to real estate associations getting sponsorship from, like, let's say, major mortgage companies. And I was explaining to somebody that when I sat on boards and executive positions, I heard complaints where they were like, well, we don't want to do this anymore because last time we gave X amount, we didn't feel like it was equitable that we got anything in return.
Right.
So all the way around, regardless of industry, there has to be that understanding of exactly what that partnership is and your responsibility in that partnership.
Right.
So, all right. So what should artists or creators never say yes to in a brand partnership?
Giving away their rights in perpetuity.
She just gave y'all a gem.
Yeah. Because, and let me break that down for people who may not know what that means. In perpetuity means they basically have your stuff forever. And there's different levels to rights that when you talk about intellectual property, they come with different values, right? So me doing a one-off piece of content for a brand doesn't mean that they have access to use this 50 years from now, right? If they're looking for to have that length of access to this content, they need to pay for it. And also too, if I add to that too, in perpetuity, and also too where the rights lie, right? Because your deal can say is worldwide, where or a deal may say it's based in the U.S. Those are different things, and also too, there's different levels to the game, right? So I wouldn't say this. Let me level set this. If you are a young creator and you're just getting into the game, no, you should not do it in perpetuity. I'm not saying that. Just understand that you are not going to get paid the same as someone who is, I
show speed.
Yeah, I show speed, right? So I think we have to. You get there, right? I tell people my process is crawl, walk, run, right? So you get started, you crawling, then you walk and you get to I show speed and you're running, right? So everyone wants to crawl and run, and they forget to walk.
Right.
So it's a process to it.
Well, everyone these days seem to just want to run.
Right. Right.
I don't want to do anything else. All right. So, you're a person that has navigated male-dominated spaces.
I thought you were going to say that was a person. I was like, I hope so. You guys are here with an alien.
Listen, last time I checked, you were a person.
Yes, I'm a person.
Right? You're a person that's navigated male-dominated spaces at the highest level. What did you have to unlearn to lead effectively?
Ooh. I don't think I had to unlearn anything. I think I had to learn a lot.
Okay.
What
are some of those things you had to learn?
That femininity could be weaponized or it can be leveraged.
Okay.
And you have to discern when to use it. And this is a real game. And being very honest. Because a lot of people ain't going to say this.
All right.
But being a woman and being an attractive woman can get you in doors that you might not otherwise get through. And I would say entertainment is very vain, right? So it's very much like you can't come in and tell me how to dress if you look raggedy. Right. So those people, those women who know how to talk the talk, walk the walk, and be about the business can get in doors that based off of that, because people are going to look at you at face value. So I had to learn how to navigate that. I had to also learn how do I show up in different rooms. How I show up in meeting with Unilever isn't how I show up when I am meeting with an artist. Or if I'm going to a listening party. They're all different spaces, and you learn how to navigate. It's almost like code switching, but also code switching and how you approach it.
Right.
So learning that, and then being in a male-dominant space, learning the space, right? I would say some of my challenges were, working with men who were chauvinistic and learning how to negotiate to get buy-in, right? And have them trust you that you know what you're talking about, So it's different.
Very different. I can imagine. In your shoes, I certainly have seen it, understand it, and women deserve the most respect in those businesses, especially women that have navigated to success in those businesses. What advice do you give women that are entering those rooms now?
Just go in there unafraid. And it doesn't really have to do with being a woman per se. I tell any person, go into these rooms prepared. Because when you're prepared, it doesn't matter that you're a woman. It doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter what you look like. I think, industries kind of love us at that. But I feel like when you go in prepared and you know your stuff, nobody can mess with you.
Right. Well, let me ask you, since you talked about femininity being an asset and a weapon, how do you weaponize it?
People weaponize it for you.
Okay.
Right? So, so it's the chauvinism or the misogyny that sometimes they, at my young age, these young rappers would come in and have something smart to say, and you had to check them.
Right.
But if I was intimidated, I can see how a young lady would feel intimidated because they're taking her femininity and weaponizing it, whether to get what they want out of the label or out of whatever, or just simply leverage who they are.
Okay. So
that's a whole different rabbit hole.
We got time. We got time. So I think in summation, though, I certainly can understand that part of what is being communicated here as well is that a female would have to know their value in the situation and kind of define it before allowing others to define it for them.
Yeah.
Right? So I think I am kind of getting that out of it.
You've been, listen, we came into the game together, right? So I'm going to out you because you're my friend. You've seen firsthand, like, some of the craziness, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And you understand, like, especially, oh my goodness, it was the Wild Wild West back in the day.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There was no Me Too.
Right.
It was like We Too.
Right.
It was no, it was interesting, and you had to be a strong one.
Right. You had to be very sly in your navigation. And unfortunately, I think we're some of those We Too's have now made it into the court system right now, and are being, handled.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna leave it right there.
Yeah.
There was a yeah. Mm-hmm. So
Moving on.
all right. So where's culture headed next?
With AI and technology, I think that's the real good question. Like, what is next? Because culture is always changing, right? It's always innovative. It's always fresh and new. I think I've been most excited about AI and this latest technology because it allows us not to have borders with our ideas and where we can go. And so I am excited because I think it's going to be really futuristic. It's going to be really almost a little bit predictive because you got so many people feeding these machines information. But I'm excited because I feel like it also allows people who are creative or imaginative to really build their dream and build their idea. And I think the technology is going to go even faster. So I'm just curious and excited to see what comes out next. What are the innovative, next level, groundbreaking, ideas, products, platforms, fashion, whatever you name it, music that's going to come out that is going to influence a whole new generation of young people who are going to be culture creators.
Yeah, I think it's all a whole new world, right? And it's very interesting. I know one of the things that I'm watching closely is where we go as far as intellectual rights.
Oh yeah. Ooh, child.
Yeah, and because we're seeing everything now, like AI artists, and I'm trying to understand what's the future in that. Who owns what?
Right.
Right. And what was the AI fed, and does that give, if you can prove that it was fed from an original artist, are they entitled to anything?
Right.
Right. If I built an AI and said, "Hey man, look, R. Kelly's locked up for any time in the near future,"
that's a good one.
Right? And I want you to.
You should do that. That's a good one.
Right, so all of a sudden I have AI R. Kelly,
right,
and I'm filling that void.
But we're not gonna call him R. Kelly. Though. We're gonna call him.
You can't call him R. Kelly because may have to call him like, I don't know, S. Melly.
I hope not. That's a smelly. That's a terrible marketing name.
Well, that's why we have you here. I have guidance,
right,
for me not to make those kind of mistakes. But that's definitely just kind of interesting to see where all of that is going to go, and who's going to be the owners, because actually the owners are going to make the most money, right? So I'm trying to figure out, even from an entrepreneurial standpoint, I need to be on the ground floor.
Oh, me too.
Of the ownership of how that's going to go down.
I don't know if you've read the latest news, but I believe it was OpenAI that was petitioning the federal government about how can they take a piece of equity or own a piece of the IP for all the ideas that have been spewed from their system that people have made money off of. So that's that's also
right
next, right? Like, so you use all these public platforms, you're feeding these machines all this data, and you're building these platforms. Well, how do you necessarily not own it?
Right. Where's ours?
Right.
We're contributing, right? All right. So we're going to move into the next section. Quick answers, right? One deal you're proud of but don't talk about often.
Cardi B Reebok.
Okay. And why you don't talk about it often?
Because that was a nightmare to get done.
Okay.
And I don't think people give me credit for that deal.
Why not?
Because it was a situation where there were so many hands in that pot. And it's not my nature to come in and brag and whatever, but it was really my persistence that got that deal done.
You know what? I could relate to that a great deal because I kind of look back at my career in the industry, and I think there's a lot of situations, but because of personality, I'm also of that personality. But I wish I was of a personality that wants to take credit for everything and would have been louder about it. So I completely understand what you're saying. You know, because I'm the type of person, as long as it's getting done. Back then, anybody that knows me now knows I'm nothing like that in my current state or industry. But back then, I was kind of like, oh, it's a team. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
as long as it happens. But then the person who yells the loudest, right?
Always
and
gets
beats
the
their
credit.
chest.
Yep.
You know, and that's and it's so funny because I have another friend. I always tell her, in her career, I think that's the difference. I don't know if you know Regina Davenport. Yeah, Regina's never does great work, but she's never been the kind of person to like promote herself or raise her hand. She's just always done her work and kind of stayed in the back. And I always tell her, if you had a different personality or if you're a person that was on the you know what I mean, let them know what you did, you'd have a completely different career trajectory.
You know, it's interesting that you say that is because I feel like there's a generation of the music industry folks that are all like that, right? And if you're not in the industry anymore, I think you still adopt those kind of personalities. But if you're inside, inside the industry, you can't help but like brag because everyone's bragging, right? Everyone's doing it for the gram.
Right.
And we didn't grow up like that in the industry. There was no Instagram. So
Nope.
there was no, you know, the only way people would know that you did the deal is if you issued a press release and it was printed in the magazine, you know.
Right.
So fast forward, everything is on full display on these social media platforms. You know, we're coming from the heyday of reality TV culture where everyone is bigger than life, smoke and mirrors. So you have a whole generation of executives who are branding themselves.
Which is very important because we see the previous generation where the lack of branding, you know, didn't work out well for a lot of people.
Yeah. I think there's a balance to be had, though.
There's always a balance.
You know,
yeah.
I do say, I feel like there is space for everything. I think there's, and I will say, like, as a person who brings people who are behind the scenes in culture, I am appreciative of those who do talk about the job and talk about the work, because one thing it does do is, like, for you never know who's listening or watching. For a young person, it lets them know that that's possible. So I do think there's value in that, but I also think there has to be balance because you know, social media is like a highlight reel. You know, you don't get to tell the whole story of all the struggle and you got this one great, amazing opportunity to happen, but you probably failed 9 more times that you didn't show anybody. And so I think that's where I feel like there's no balance, and it creates this perception that everything's rosy and glamorous and easy when it's really not. Right.
No, I completely agree with that. And that's why a lot of times I speak of the failures, you know, or things that weren't right, because I think you have to, because or else people only see the wins and they think everything is going to be a win.
Oh, child, listen.
And a lot of times you fail a lot more times than you actually win trying to get that win.
Absolutely. I mean, I can tell you how many companies I had before Culture Creators. I tell people all the time, Culture Creators wasn't my first rodeo.
Right.
You know, it was the only one that kind of stuck.
Right.
So, and it takes time to get to these places, but I think anybody can do it if you're persistent if you keep believing in yourself and you keep pushing through the hard times, because there's more hard times than there are rosy, great, popping champagne times.
Yeah, and you know, like I just had this conversation with somebody the other day. Like, people kind of throw around the word broke right now, right? Like it's the biggest insult. And I'm like,
I'm broke.
I'm like, feel free to be broke.
Listen.
There's billionaires that are broke. You have to be broke before to break through.
Let me tell you, child.
Okay, so.
You know, I think maybe, I would tell you, I learned the value of being broke going through my divorce. You know, having two incomes, you know, I was in the heyday of the music industry, and my dream car, and that sounds real corny, was a Range Rover. So I had two. I love my Range Rover. And, you know, when I got divorced, I don't know if anyone's ever paid to get a Range Rover fixed, but that joint is expensive. And I remember saying to myself, every time I take this Range Rover to get fixed, and you drive it in the city, the brakes go every year.
Right.
It's $1,000 or more. I was like, you know what I could do with that extra $700? And so I went and I traded my Range Rover in for a Toyota. And never looked back. And I'd said, you know what? I'd rather much live under my means and be so in control of my destiny than to live extravagantly and go home and be broke.
Yep. And that is the key. You should always live, because you could be a billionaire and still be broke. There's a billionaire, the multi-billionaire, that had a problem meeting a note payment of $98 million recently. So no matter how much wealth you accumulate, you can still have financial hardships.
But there's different types of wealth, too. I think that, you know, there's paper wealth, you know, the wealth that you have on paper, which, you know, your assets are valued at, and, you know, we'll not get into all this stuff.
And
but
cash.
And then there's cash. You know, a lot of people are paper wealthy and not cash wealthy.
Well, most of them are. I think the most liquid entrepreneur I've ever come across was Pablo Escobar, but that's another story.
Oh, my goodness. Here we go. I'll tell you a story how I was in Colombia and I swore I was at a bar with his son, and I wanted to ask him so bad, but my husband's like, don't do that.
You probably was.
I was not. He's in hiding.
I was in Colombia and I met his sister. Oops, I forgot I'm on camera. Anyway, let's
It wasn't him, by the way. It was too many drinks that I had. The food and drinks were amazing in Colombia.
All right. So 20 years from now, when people talk about your impact, what do you hope that they're going to say?
That I gave them an opportunity.
That's big. That is absolutely big. Because oftentimes, that is the only thing you need, is an opportunity. And if you are prepared, then you'll be successful.
Amen.
So culture isn't just something we consume. It's something we build. And more importantly, it's something we protect. Joi Brown, I thank you, my friend, for this wonderful conversation.
Thank you.
And blessing us on the Rogue Asset Podcast.
Thank you. And thank you for having me, and much success with Rogue Access. I mean, what you're doing is important, and it's part of the culture, because a part of the culture is making sure that we talk about issues and share information that is relevant to how we create it, how we amplify, how we protect it.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for tuning in. Once again, Joi, thank you. We're out.